Hey guys, so this is not my usual content. I always try to keep it light and funny on my YouTube, but I recently joined a new fandom, and I thought I should talk about my own experience being in it.
First of all, I would like to say this does not mean you should go and hate and trash on this fandom. I did not mention any usernames for a reason. This video is only about the bad toxic parts of this fandom. They are a loud minority outnumbered by the actual normal fans I curate my TL with.
I'm only making this video to call out the hypocrisy on those sides of this fandom. I hope it serves as a reality check to those people. If you are not part of the toxic side of this fandom, then none of this applies to you. You should keep doing you, and sorry for using the robotic voiceover. I'm not comfortable talking with my real voice on this account. Okay, I joined the Heated Rivalry fandom in December last year because I saw the Stop Asian Hate clip on TikTok, and I found Hudson and Connor really funny, so I decided to watch the show, and I ended up loving it so much as a queer person. It really spoke to me. It really broke boundaries being a mainstream queer show from a small studio, and it opened up conversations about toxic masculinity and homophobia in sports and in general. If you haven't watched the show, please watch it. I highly recommend it. I started following the fandom on Twitter, mainly to get updates from the cast. I was thrilled they were virtually unknown actors, and was excited to follow their careers. At first I didn't see the toxic sides of the fandom. I would only see people talking about it, but then it started to bleed onto my own TL. I started to learn there were people who only followed certain actors, like people who only stand Hudson, or only stand Connor, or only stand Francois. For the record, I stand the entire cast, so I found this weird. If you are into K-pop, you may know this as solo standing or orc gay, which I find stupid. If you are only standing one member of an entire group, or one person out of a pair of friends who consider each other best friends, and even platonic soulmates, that's like only standing Dan and not Phil before they came out. I understand that some people don't like certain people because they do a thing they consider is bad, and I get it. Everyone wants to be a good person, and we should hold people accountable when they do bad things, but that's the thing. No one did anything bad. What I've realized is that this fandom is full of people who make stuff up. Francois plays Scott Hunter in Heated Rivalry and is part of the side couple that is very important to the entire story. He delivered the speech in episode 6 beautifully. He's had a very long successful career as an actor and came out as bisexual in 2020. As a queer person, I love discovering queer actors in film and TV, so it is nice seeing him get his flowers. Francois is very funny, quippy and sarcastic in interviews, but people who have already made their minds up about him believe he's trying to say that the show is just porn, is weirded out that women like it, and that he hates Hudson or is jealous of him, even though he compliments him and thinks he's cool, and they're literally friends. Another part of this fandom is that some people don't know what a joke is and take things too seriously.
The weirdest lie they've made up about him without any proof is that he calls the paparazzi on him for attention whenever he's seen in public with Connor to use him for clout and or fuel rumors of them dating.
First of all, Francois has been acting for 20 years and has projects on the way. Why would he need a boost for his career, despite HR being a breakout show? Second of all, they both hide from the paps whenever their pictures are taken, so why would you think he called them "I hate the paps" and can't believe that's still a job as it's literally making stocking? It's legal. Third, I don't know if Francois and Connor are dating. And I don't care. I don't understand why people care so much about who an actor is dating. It's literally none of your business, and I'm here to support their projects, nothing else. It would be cute if they were, and happy for them if true. But for now, since they haven't confirmed anything, then I can't say anything about it. I'm leaving it be, and so should they. Connor's story plays Ilya Rozanov in Heated Rivalry. Like many people, I was shocked that he is not Russian. He is such a talented actor, and I believe the phone monologue is one of the most well-acted confession scenes I've ever seen in any romance media. I also think he is the human embodiment of sunshine, and he will win tons of acting awards in the future.
Connor and Hudson have both decided to keep their love lives private and have not stated their sexualities in any interview, but a lot of people didn't seem to respect that.
Around the time I joined the fandom, someone from Connor's past exposed a private part of his life. He went on an incomprehensible rant on his IG story about him that not even people who spoke his language could figure out. So he's mostly an unreliable narrator, and provided no actual proof of any bad behavior from Connor.
I thought this was absolutely nasty considering this is his breakout role, and he specifically stated he wants to keep his private life private.
Connor used to be very active on socials until people started invading his privacy. They found his sister's account and started saying weird things in her comments, and they also started harassing Francois in his comments about him potentially dating Connor. I know you're thinking now, why is Francois in this? What did he do? Nothing. They're calling him a manipulative predator and Connor a victim, and that's a very harmful allegation to throw at someone, not to mention both of them are getting called the F-slur, negatively, the F-slur, in 2026, in a fandom for a show about gay men falling in love. I've read that a lot of people in the fandom don't really understand age gaps. Yes, age gaps can be and are harmful, but they are also okay. For example, obviously you cannot date a 13-year-old as an 18-year-old. You cannot date a 15-year-old as a 21-year-old. You cannot date an 18-year-old as a 42-year-old. But you can date a 40-year-old as a 25-year-old. Why? Because science. At 25 you are a fully grown adult, with a fully grown brain, who's more likely to make mature sound decisions, and less likely to be manipulated by a power dynamic or mental maturity gap. Again, it's not up to me to say if Francois and Connor are dating, it's up to them to confirm or deny it, and I don't care. But I believe this is part of why people don't like them together, and you can dislike age gap relationships all you want, but at the end of the day, it is none of your fucking business. You are telling two fully grown men who don't know you exist, who they can and cannot date. What the fuck? Why do you think you know what's best for them if you're not them? People who dug up and fabricated photos and blind items from private events and moments, and people also attempted to put together a timeline of Francois and Connor's other partners and have insinuated that one or both of them are cheaters. But like, why were you digging into their past like that? That is a serious allegation you shouldn't throw around unless you have actual solid proof. Do you even know if they're all still dating each other's respective partners? No, because you don't know them. Were you there when either of them confirmed that either relationship was going to shit? No, because you weren't there. Were you Alexander motherfucking Hamilton? Were you in the fucking room where it fucking happened, ho? Connor then stepped away from socials, almost completely deleting personal posts, only using his IG strictly for promoting his projects, and people are complaining about him being PR trained, losing his personality, becoming boring, not communicating with fans. It's because of crazies like you. And those are only two of the reasons why they don't like seeing Francois and Connor together. Yes, people actually ship Hudson and Connor together romantically, even though they have explicitly stated they are best friends and platonic soulmates. Long disappointed sigh. Some people just cannot take the hint. Not only are you making shit up, but it's also dismissive of their acting. What you see on the show is acting. They did not actually fall in love. They are playing characters. They are not themselves. It also invalidates the work of their intimacy coordinator, whose job is very important in keeping actors safe on set. No. They did not actually fuck in front of cameras, and an entire crew, both of them, feel nothing romantic or sexual towards each other. On the flip side, obviously people are rooting for Francois and Connor. So some people think Francois is getting in the middle of Hudson and Connor, so they hate on him, and some people think Hudson is getting in the middle of Francois and Connor, so they hate on him, and some people only treat Francois, Hudson or Connor as a vehicle to keep their ship sailing, not even as their own person. This shit is so fucking messy. The irony is not lost on me. You're telling me that in the possibility that Francois and Connor are dating, people dislike it because it's not real life hollanov, and in the impossibility that Hudson and Connor are dating, people dislike it because it's not what they expected. People have said this before, but you'll only support queer people when it seems correct to you, and this is coming from a fandom who watched an episode about hockey players being afraid to come out because of what people will think of them, and not being forced to come out on their own time when they're ready. If you want to support a real confirmed gay couple who's comfortable sharing their relationship with an audience, Dan and Phil are right there. His man is right there. The boyfriend is right there. William and Isaiah are right there in Brazil or somewhere living their best lives. I don't fucking know. Man, it's better than forcing people who want their relationships to be private to fucking kiss in front of you to validate you, damn. Literally none of this would happen if people just didn't give a fuck about who's dating who.
Yes, people are more welcoming to the LGBTQ community compared to the 1980s. But
queer actors are often pigeonholed into similar roles. Oftentimes they are only known for being a token, or being known just for representation of their sexuality. Out actors with a versatile repertoire often come out at an older age and have the chance to explore different roles because they're more established and have more status in the film industry, not to mention the current political state of the world right now, so you've got to understand why some brand new actors wouldn't label their sexualities publicly just yet. As you can see, it is not really the issue of straight people taking queer roles, as people say. It's more of an industry-wide problem, and executives and shareholders preventing queer stories from being told and queer artists from being in the spotlight. Representation through actors is amazing, but what matters most is that queer stories are told by queer directors, producers, writers, cast by queer casting directors. Just allowing for more queer stories to be told accurately to the queer experience.
There's also this viral quote about people having a crush on Ilya over Connor. At first it seemed harmless and was more about preference. Now to introduce our word of the day, microaggression. Ilya is traditionally more masculine than Connor, even though they are literally the same person. But they would date Ilya over Connor because microaggression. Here's another example of a microaggression from the show itself.
I'm assuming your buddy might be gay. Russia is not safe for folks like that.
And here's another example of a racial microaggression. Which leads me to
Hudson Williams plays Shane Hollander in Heated Rivalry as a queer neurodivergent Asian person. I really appreciated his accurate portrayal of a character with autism. He gave so much care and time into making Shane Hollander who he is. I also appreciate his subtle choices and eye acting, as my other favorite actors are also known for that. His coming out scenes with Rose and Yuna made me cry. I'm also stoked that one of the new Hollywood it boys is Asian, because of the stereotypes surrounding them in the West, and I hope he continues with more roles and success.
Last year, I Love LA promos overlapped with the release of Heated Rivalry. This interview of Jordan Firstman was released. This was only the beginning of a very long hate train that is still lasting to this day.
Many people defended Hudson, including Francois, and I love that he clapped back, but it also opened up a valid conversation on if queer roles should go only to queer actors. This is because of two reasons. 1. We've established that queer actors are discriminated against. 2. Queer audiences have been subject to queerbaiting, so as predicted they will get defensive over Hudson getting this role. Queerbaiting is when media sets up queer representation in a show or film, only to end up not explicitly representing them to profit off of a queer audience. A prime example would be clans. Real people cannot queerbait. For some reason a lot of people still don't believe this, but it's true. In a perfect world. Of course I would love for queer actors to play queer roles, but it only sounds good in theory but not in practice. This is actually a grounds of discrimination, especially for where Heated Rivalry was filmed. People don't owe anyone a label, a dating history, or an explanation of who they are to land a job or to just exist. And what if a queer person wanted to play a straight role to diversify their resume or vice versa? Auditions aside, people take time to discover and or label their sexuality. Again, Francois didn't come out until his mid-30s, and he's been in same-sex relationships on screen before then. Finding yourself takes time and that's okay. At the same time no one has to come out, but it doesn't mean you're in the closet either. You just don't make an explicit statement of IMX, it depends on each person. By the way, no, I obviously don't believe that Hudson is a queerbaiter, because real people can't fucking queerbait. He's the most outspoken on the topic of sexuality in the cast, other than Francois and most of his works he produced, wrote and directed before. RA are very understanding of the queer experience. I've consumed other queer media and other actors who have played queer roles have never been as thorough in his explanations on the topic of queerness, and I really appreciate that. Even if he turned out to be straight, then I'd still be glad that he's our Shane because he's a good ally and he understands the queer experience to an extent. Also, Hudson and Jordan had a smoke when they met at an HBO event, so I guess they worked it out on the remix. Now I think Hudson's sexuality is I don't care because it's none of my fucking business. I think it's okay for the bisexual and poly communities to relate to Hudson or see themselves in him, but I also don't believe in labeling him even as a joke because he hasn't labeled himself. So I don't think he should be called a bi or poly icon or proper representation even though he is lovely. I also think there's a narrative from the other side how people want to force Hudson to be bi or queer to reaffirm their ship or in a fetishizing gay people way. And while that may be true in a loud minority sense, I've seen the majority of people are just using gaydar and noticing things about him they could be right or wrong. I don't care. I don't participate in that. Also, yes, he has a girlfriend, but that still doesn't make him straight, and people still get mad at that statement. But that statement isn't really about Hudson, it's about considering straight the norm, and anything else not normal a biphobic microaggression. It's about the way people assume or think more than the actual person they're assuming. But at the end of the day, nobody should speculate or give a fuck. He hasn't labeled his own sexuality, and he is an actor we don't know personally. We shouldn't care this much. The hate Hudson gets is both from inside and outside of the fandom, but mostly in the Twitter bubble. But it got weirder when this mysterious TikTok account popped up showing personal pictures of Hudson, his friend circle, and his girlfriend Way, before he hard launched her on IG. By the way, people accused Hudson of hiding his GF to keep his queer audience. Whatever the fuck that means, but why the fuck would he do that if so-called straight people don't face homophobia? Please use your brains. She is not a public figure, he is trying to protect her. People in the fandom speculate it was a Francois and Connor shipper trying to prove Hudson is straight. And I honestly don't know the truth about that, but it was clear. They had it out for Hudson, they were fucking invasive as hell, damn near close to doxing. The account posted that most of what they're sharing is through Hudson's mutual followers, but that's still fucking weird. They had to dig through his friend circle for this information.
They didn't just post personal pictures, they also posted schedules of where him and his girlfriend were headed before they arrived at certain locations and screenshots of personal and private social media accounts, which brings us to Letterboxdgate.
The TikTok account posted several brutal Letterboxd reviews that painted some movies and actors in an unfavorable light. It is well known that Hudson graduated film school and is a cinephile, so he would be critical of film as an art form. Some people took them as hot takes, and it opened up a discussion about how people are afraid to critique media or view media that is controversial or makes them uncomfortable, but others personally were turned off by the reviews as they were very harsh. Personally, I think he does the same stuff filmtwt does all the time, so I don't know why they're mad. But a lot of the vitriol came from fans of Rachel Ziegler, because the account left a bad review of Tabo Sass. Enter Dudson Zender, an edgy hate account that got around 7k followers under the guise of being a Rachel Connor and Francois stan among other celebrities. I don't believe this person was a real Rachel stan, not just because they barely post her, but because there's this whole thing about them following right-wing Nazi Israeli crypto accounts and accounts teaching them how to make money off of Twitter, so they were mostly in it to raggybait and engagement farm. And I hate it, because I love Rachel Ziegler. I think she's a very talented actress, one of the best vocalists of our generation, and is a sweetie pie who does not deserve a hate train either. And seeing how a chunk of her fans treat Hudson, she deserves to be represented by better fans. Dudson Zender's tweets got thousands of RTs and likes it reached the general population of Stan Twitter, and people caught onto the hate train. This normally wouldn't bother me, since he has a strong fan base to fall back on, but then it did because it got flagged in European countries for Nazi imagery. Hudson would be compared to horrible people and straight-up war criminals like Trump. Hitler, Netanyahu, and Elon got photoshopped holding Nazi and Israeli flags, even though Hudson and Francois are the most outspoken about politics in the entire cast. And Hudson would hate the people he's being compared to. All this because they dislike an actor who hasn't done anything close to warrant this type of hatred. It doesn't matter who is being hated on. In any circumstance, it is not okay to joke about genocide or dictatorship. There are real people being bombed every day, having their rights taken away, denied aid and news coverage. While this person has the privilege to log in on a computer with a roof over their head, write a distasteful joke and get paid for it.
The infamous Wonderland magazine shoot comes out. In the middle of the amazing photos, we got Hudson confirms that his letterbox reviews are fabricated. Did the hate stop? No, Hudson's ender kept going. Was it cleared up? Yes, but people kept hating. Some out of overexposure, some out of ignorance, but others didn't believe his statement and kept hating for the love of the game.
Hudson's ender and other users from both out the fandom were in a group chat that got exposed for those, quote, jokes, quote, but also planning to spread SA rumors to get him cancelled. A career-ending allegation without any solid proof, all because they dislike an actor. Let's go back to our word of the day, microaggression. A lot of hate tweets from Hudson's ender and other bigger accounts are actually about Hudson's appearance and fell back on his so-called corrupted morals to justify them ripping on his appearance. I personally find Hudson very attractive. Other people simply don't and are respectful about it, and that's okay. But these bigger accounts wouldn't say he's not that cute, or he's not my type. They would say he's straight up ugly, which is wrong. Hudson is half Korean. It is important to note that he is the only POC out of the two couples on Heated Rivalry. Coming from an Asian person, Hudson has visible Asian features. There are some people who believe he's white passing or whitewashed, which is a whole other microaggression within itself. Being half white, he has some privilege to an extent, but add to the magnitude of his hate train, especially with attacks on his appearance. As a Korean man, Hudson has to face both Western male beauty standards and Asian male beauty standards, and this is where it gets heavily onto looks maxing red pill territory. The ideal Western man looks like this, the ideal Asian man looks like this. Hudson isn't either of these, and if you're a man of color who doesn't fulfill both of these, then you're not attractive, and shouldn't be found attractive by women or anyone. On one side, Hudson apparently isn't attractive enough to be considered handsome at all, and his features are not white enough. On the other side, Hudson's features aren't Korean enough. He is considered fat for a Korean man. His head is too big, he has bad proportions, he's bow-legged. It does not help that his haters pick out bad photos, Photoshop his face to look worse, compare him to other celebrities that have nothing to do with him, and draw straight-up racist caricatures of him. They say beauty standards are toxic, but when a man doesn't fit them, you make fun of him. You don't like plastic surgery, but when someone has natural features and imperfections, you call them ugly. Young men on the internet are impressionable, and seeing someone with their features get ripped apart can lead them down a very dark path. Yes, it is that deep. As an Asian person, Hudson completely diverts from the model minority myth, and I love it. He is an extroverted, unapologetic, and opinionated Asian man who doesn't promote toxic masculinity and isn't afraid to dress and act flamboyant. But people take issue with his personality. They think he shouldn't talk the way he does, or dress the way he does, or hang out with people the way he does because he, an Asian man, shouldn't act that way, and that it's all an act for attention even though he's been like that before fame. I've also seen other celebrities with ADED, which he has get villainized, and it's kind of a microaggression towards neurodivergent people. People say he's overexposed, he goes to every event, every party, and accusing him of wanting to be a socialite or influencer instead of an actor, which isn't true. White actors usually score in one project then go on to have a good career. Actors of color need to work twice as hard as their white peers to keep being booked on projects, so he has to keep being seen. Hudson attends these parties to meet people he wants to work with. It's part of his fucking job, and it's working in his favor because he has the type of personality that attracts people, writes headlines, and generates clicks. He already has scripts sent to him that he is looking over, so who's to say that he isn't serious about acting? Also recently, the straw that broke the camel's back for me, which made me make this video, is that people in the fandom were fighting the homewrecker. Allegations with cheating allegations, which in itself is crazy considering both were made up from nothing. Hudson's still with his GF, so now what? It's the fact that people think they know the boundaries they've set. Hudson is physically affectionate with his friends, and people at parties request him to take certain pictures. It's a miracle that you're this touchy as a man and still make women feel comfortable around you. That says a lot. Unless something solid comes out about him, this was truly unnecessary.
Everyone who knows and works with him have said nothing but nice things about him, and there hasn't been a single accusation from someone in his circle of anything bad. But they keep wanting him to be the villain. So you've probably figured out by now that there is very obvious underlying racism regarding Hudson's hate train, but the saddest part about it is that it's a pattern.
Many English-language gay media consist of one white person and one person of color in the couple. The white person usually goes on to have a successful career without overexposure or massive hate in the industry. The person of color gets sidelined faces, racism gets docs. But this also just happens to any person of color who is suddenly thrust into the spotlight. They face much more scrutiny and criticism compared to their white peers. But when it comes to white people doing the same things, they deem it iconic or brush it to the side. It's 2026 and we've seen this time and time again. But no one against him stops to think why things turn out this way, and why history is repeating itself. Notice how I didn't belittle any of the discrimination that any of the actors faced. It's a fucking wonder how there's so much bigotry in a fandom from a show about love and acceptance, instead of being like, oh that's wrong, they use it for fucking fan wars and oppression Olympics. Homophobia and racism are both bad, and none of the sides seem to be acknowledging that it's always this is bad but this is worse. Y'all don't really care about anything, y'all just want to come out on top. Of Heated Rivalry, and I can't stand the defamation on all sides. It's really all from speculation and made up shit. Until something with solid proof comes out that any of them did anything bad, I will defend them from all of this bullshit. I'd like to bring up what Francois and Jacob said in these interviews that people somehow still cannot respect. Also, I'm not forcing you to like any of these actors as long as you're respectful about it, it's fine, but I hate that they made it a moral thing and had to find a reason to get other people to hate them to feel morally superior. You can just dislike an actor just because you dislike them, it's okay, but don't twist their words or make shit up because it ruins lives and you don't know these people. The platform does not help, as controversy and bigotry is rewarded instead of punished and generates clicks and money. There's a reason why it hasn't spread onto other apps, and the reception on there is more positive. This fandom has gotten so bad I kind of wish this show didn't explode the way it did. But if it didn't, Connor and Hudson would go back to waiting tables, and the world wouldn't know of their amazing talent. Rachel Reed wouldn't have her treatments be paid. Tons of queer people wouldn't have gotten their inner child healed from seeing themselves in these characters. I just wish we could all be friends. I wish we were more normal and rational instead of jumping to conclusions, and taking a step back to see things as they are, and not what people assume to be. And now for some other positivity, Solidified is releasing their second single What's Your Name, please stream it so we can get a music video as they are. Independent artists, their manager is a fan of Heated Rivalry. You, Me and Tuscany is coming out April 10th starring Halle Bailey and John Page. We need full support to bring back cheesy romantic comedy movies again. The Michael Jackson biopic is releasing April 24, and I want everyone to stand the lead actor Jafar Jackson because he will be the next big breakout star, and he needs a good fanbase to deal with the pressure of becoming an overnight sensation. BTS is having their long-awaited comeback, and although I won't be monetarily supporting due to the boycotts, I am glad that they are back. Please see the description below for links in need of donations, and please donate to these fundraisers if you can. It's the best way to show appreciation for our boys. Girls Like Girls is coming out in June. It's a Wooloo love story and we should support it in theaters to show studios that audiences love queer media. Red, White and Royal Wedding is also coming soon, and I've been looking forward to that ever since I watched the first movie. Vampire Lestat is releasing. It's been a long time coming, and Sam Reed and Jacob Anderson look excellent in their roles in this new era. Thank you for watching my video. I promise my other videos will be funny, silly, and not that serious.